What if I told you that the most remote portraits we have ever taken in the solar system are also the last ones we may see for centuries? Imagine a camera built by humans flying billions of kilometers away, capturing a world no larger than our moon and another even smaller object shaped like a fossil from the dawn of the solar system. Now imagine that no spacecraft will ever return to these places in your lifetime. That is the quiet, astonishing truth behind the final portraits of Pluto and Arrokoth, two worlds photographed once in a single narrow moment before the spacecraft that captured them disappeared into the darkness forever. The Kuiper Belt is not just far away. It is a region so remote and so hostile to exploration that even sending one spacecraft was a once-in-a-generation event. New Horizons was designed for a single opportunity: fly past Pluto at enormous speed, gather everything it could in a tiny window of time, and then push deeper outward into regions no human eyes had ever seen. The mission had no second attempt, no backup, no orbit insertion, no redo. Everything depended on that one moment. And when those final images came down to Earth, Pluto's icy plains, its layered atmosphere, the smooth contours of Arrokoth, they instantly became historical artifacts. What makes this even more dramatic is that these images represent the closest we will ever come to understanding these distant objects for a very long time. There is no follow-up mission. There is no funded orbiter. There is no lander. There is not even a conceptual spacecraft approved to study these worlds again. As the probe moves farther from the sun, its power supply fades, its instruments degrade, and its chance to discover anything more approaches zero. The window is closing in slow motion, and when it shuts for good. The Kuiper Belt is too vast, too slow to reach, too unforgiving to explore casually. And so these final portraits stand as a threshold, a boundary between what we learned and what we will never learn, unless humanity creates propulsion systems radical enough to change everything. Until then, Pluto and Arrokoth remain captured in a single moment, frozen in time by a spacecraft we will never see again. To understand how rare this achievement was, you must understand what the Kuiper Belt really is. It is not a simple ring of objects circling the sun. It is a sprawling region extending billions of kilometers beyond Neptune, filled with frozen remnants that never became planets. These objects orbit slowly, quietly, untouched since the solar system formed. For decades, they were only small specks of light in our telescopes, barely distinguishable from background stars. No spacecraft had ever approached one, not even remotely. But then New Horizons arrived. When it passed by Pluto, it revealed a landscape that stunned scientists across the world. Mountains made of water ice, plains of nitrogen frozen into massive sheets, and a hazy atmosphere layered like rings around a planet that should have been dead. That discovery alone would have been historic. But the mission didn't end there. NASA directed New Horizons to continue deeper, toward a faint, elongated object later named Arrokoth. It was so dim and so distant that even the best telescopes could barely locate it, let alone reveal details. And yet, when New Horizons reached it, the images were astonishing. Arrokoth was a pristine relic, shaped like two ancient bodies that gently merged billions of years ago. There were no mountains, no atmosphere, no geological activity. Its surface was smooth, untouched, almost perfectly preserved. This meant that Arrokoth held something more powerful than beauty. It held memory. It was a direct snapshot of what the solar system looked like when everything was forming. But here is the problem. Arrokoth is impossibly small and impossibly far. Reaching it required perfect timing, perfect calculations, and a spacecraft already moving at extraordinary speed. Even then, the encounter lasted minutes. The spacecraft flew past at such velocity that the images feel like glimpses in passing, freezing a world into existence for scientists who never expected to see it so clearly. The more you learn about this mission, the clearer the truth becomes. Reproducing this feat is not simply unlikely, it borders on impossible with current technology. Every orbit, every calculation, every correction had to be flawless. And even then, the spacecraft only got one shot.
That is why these portraits are not just impressive, they are irreplaceable.
What makes the final portraits truly haunting is not what they show, but what they imply. Pluto, with its flowing nitrogen ices and towering frozen mountains, hints at processes we barely understand. Its heart-shaped basin, Tombaugh Regio, appears to be driving global atmospheric cycles. Some scientists suspect that internal heat may still be shaping parts of the surface today. But we cannot confirm any of this because the probe that photographed Pluto is gone, and no second spacecraft is coming. Arrokoth tells another kind of story. It is so old, so unaltered, that studying it felt like opening a time capsule from 4.5 billion years ago. Its smooth, unweathered surface suggests it has never experienced meaningful impacts or internal heating. The gentle connection between its two lobes implies that early planet formation was far slower and quieter than once believed. But again, these conclusions are based on a few snapshots. There is no orbiting mission to map Arrokoth in detail, no lander to study its composition, no radar to probe its interior. These portraits are the starting point of countless scientific questions, questions we may not answer for centuries. The real challenge is not curiosity. It is distance. It takes nearly a decade for a fast probe to reach Pluto, and even then, only if every planetary alignment is perfect. Slowing down to enter orbit would require a propulsion system far beyond anything in use today. The Kuiper Belt is farther still. Just identifying a target for New Horizons after Pluto required massive telescope campaigns. And even then, the object selected, Arrokoth, was small enough that a minor navigational error could have ruined everything. These obstacles are not minor. They define the limits of our reach. New Horizons succeeded because the timing, funding, engineering, and astronomical conditions aligned in a way that may never repeat. This was not a routine mission. It was a historical anomaly. And that's why the portraits feel so final. We have seen enough to know how strange these worlds are, but not enough to understand them. We have touched the edge of a frontier we cannot yet return to. And as New Horizons continues to drift into deeper space, these questions drift with it, unanswered, and possibly unanswerable for generations.
Now, the spacecraft that gave us these portraits is slowly falling silent. Its power source weakens year by year. Instruments must be turned off one at a time to conserve energy. Eventually, even the transmitter will go dark. When that happens, New Horizons will continue its journey through interstellar space, but we will never hear from it again. What remains are the images. Pluto's icy plains glowing under the distant sun, its thin atmosphere weaving transparent layers through the darkness, and Arrokoth's ancient form drifting untouched for billions of years. These portraits are more than data. They form a boundary between eras of exploration. They remind us that some opportunities exist only once, and when they pass, they do not return. The Kuiper Belt will still be there, filled with frozen worlds waiting to be understood. But our ability to reach them quickly is extremely limited. Until breakthroughs in propulsion and energy storage arrive, we must accept that these photographs, these moments captured in 2015 and 2019, are the closest humanity will get to these worlds for a very long time. And yet, this limitation creates something unexpectedly powerful. Knowing that these images might be the last encourages us to value them differently. They are not just scientific tools, they are historical records. They show what a single mission, executed with precision and vision, can accomplish at the edge of everything we know. One day, humanity may return. One day, there may be faster engines, nuclear-powered orbiters, or autonomous probes capable of slowing down and mapping Pluto and Arrokoth in detail. But until then, these portraits stand as the final chapter of an extraordinary mission. A reminder of the moment when a small spacecraft crossed the threshold into the Kuiper Belt and transformed two anonymous points of light into real, detailed worlds. And now, as that spacecraft drifts away beyond the reach of the sun, the meaning becomes clear. Exploration is not guaranteed. Discovery is not endless.
And sometimes the universe grants us only a single chance to look. These are the final portraits of Pluto and Arrokoth, snapshots of worlds we may never visit again, carried into interstellar darkness by the only probe that has ever seen them up close.